This start of China that's been given, I think it's quite instructive. We can actually learn a lot of things from the Chinese development success story. I was privileged to be in China sometime last year in November, and I was able to learn firsthand how the Chinese development success story has actually evolved from 1978. From 1978. And the 4 key factors that really stood out for me are, number one, the role, my brother has mentioned the role of parastatals in the Chinese development story. Currently, it's actually estimated that parastatals in China contribute as much as 40% to the Chinese GDP. So in the case of China, they have not gone for wholesale or privatization, but they've rather reformed their parastatals and state-owned institutions using good models of corporate governance. So they play obviously a critical role in terms of initiating and sustaining that development process and trajectory. Then the issue of the role of institutions, it's also obviously related to parastatals, because parastatals are a critical institution. And of course, in the case of Zimbabwe, you also then begin to see where we've missed it. When you look at Zimbabwe, and in most African countries, actually, in Zimbabwe, it's actually estimated that in 1980, parastatals contributed around 15% to gross domestic product. And currently, they are now only contributing about 4% to gross domestic product. So if we are able to reform our parastatals, they would play a more proactive and developmental role, and that could actually solve or bridge some of that gridlock that we are also facing as an economy. The institutions in general, of course, institutions are two broad levels. You can talk about your political institutions. Then there are also economic institutions. And of course, the key economic institutions that I've already highlighted are parastatals, and the rule of law, then political institutions, the judiciary, independence of the judiciary, property rights, that's also an important institution. And in China, they've actually been able to ensure, for example, reference for property rights, which explains why China, even up to now, China is the second biggest recipient of foreign direct investment inflows in the world after the US. And of course, they've also been able to use their institutions to invest in infrastructure, because ultimately infrastructure is key. That's the lifeblood of any economy. And when we talk about infrastructure, it's not just the physical or the hard infrastructure that's important, but it's also the soft infrastructure that's also important. When we talk about soft infrastructure, we're referring to things like your education. And in Zimbabwe, there's a huge infrastructure gap across all sectors of our infrastructure. Healthcare, and I'm a health economist. When you look at just health, how much we are spending on health as an economy per person, for this year, we are actually spending just about, we've increased actually from about $40 last year to about $70 this